Hello, and welcome to Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter, a podcast where Dr. O from All Creatures Every Spine interviews doctors and animal owners that utilize animal chiropractic to get their unique perspectives. Yes, it's really a thing. Dr. O utilizes his 30 years of experience as both an animal chiropractor and veterinarian, and to dig deep into the discussion of complex issues affecting the lives of your animal friends and companions. Join us for this educational episode. Thanks for joining us for this portion of the episode as Dr. O begins to answer the question, what is animal chiropractic? He will look at how the chiropractic adjustment is a valuable and viable treatment for what ails your animals.
Helping others experience an abundant life with the gift, art, and blessing that is animal chiropractic is our sole mission at All Creatures Every Spine. It's what we do. It's what we love. It truly is what keeps us motivated to help people just like you. I truly love the art of chiropractic. It drives me to provide the highest level of chiropractic possible. And as fellow chiropractic business owners, it's that love that drives us to become better. However, the reality is that sometimes running a successful business can be challenging. Sometimes there can be obstacles to overcome. We all know the old saying, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Well, one thing that is really easy is marketing our clinic with a professional animal chiropractic website by the Chiro Website Pro, Tony Seymour. He's a professional web designer, and his team at Chiro Website Pro take good care of us. They simply make marketing our practice 100% hassle-free. If you're looking for the number one hands-free way to market your practice, give the Chiro Website Pro a call at 423-779-4630. Or simply visit www.chirowebsitepro.com and make sure you ask them about the special ACES discount and let them know Dr. Amy and Dr. O sent you. You'll be glad. Welcome to Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter. What is animal chiropractic? Wow, animal chiropractic is so many things, it's huge. Today, though, I want to talk about the big idea. And one of my colleagues, one of my friends, this chiropractor up in Kansas, has a program, a big seminar, and it's called The Big Idea. Okay, the big idea, I didn't really know where that idea came from, but as I'm reading the green books and learning more about chiropractic philosophy, because we always need to learn, came out the idea, big idea, is something that BJ said. When you get the big idea, all else follows. And nobody really knows exactly what he meant by the big idea. There's a lot of, ideas, a lot of different viewpoints on what it was. But my interpretation of the big idea is that the body heals. And that's the big idea. We've been around for lots of years as a human race, and we're still here. Animals have been around for lots of years. Horses have been horses, cattle, pigs, sheep, whatever, have been around for a lot of years, and they're still here. That's the big idea, that we heal, that we reproduce, we evolve, we can adapt to our environment. And when we can't, then that's when we get problems. We become dis-eased. When we're not at ease with our environment, then we have problems. And when we start to have problems, then we get sick. The small idea is that drugs cure it. The small idea is that we
can make it better. You know, we can mask it. That, you know, the small idea is that germs and parasites and those kinds of things are what make us sick and kill us. But that's not true. The big idea is that if we're able to adapt with our environment and our immune system is functioning like it should, then those little things don't bother us, because we're able to adapt. Yeah, maybe we'll have a fever. Maybe you'll have diarrhea for a day or two. Maybe. But, you know, if you're healthy and you have a healthy immune system and you eat good and you're at ease, and at ease is the biggest thing. You have to be at ease. You have to be congruent, and your animals have to be congruent. You know, we have a lot of horses that come in here that are sick. They have problems. First thing we do is jerk their shoes and make them be a horse. What do you mean you make them be a horse? Well, we turn them loose on over 100 acres of pasture. They walk, they graze, they get all the hay they want, you know, very little grain, but a lot of hay, and that is what a horse is supposed to do. And a lot of their problems go away. A lot of their metabolic issues go away. You know, what do we do with dogs? We make sure they get plenty of exercise. They don't go in a cage. They get plenty of exercise. They get outside. They eat raw food, which is species appropriate raw food. And that's what we do. And we adjust. We adjust everything so that the nervous system is unimpinged and the nervous system can react appropriately to its environment and help everything on the ranch adapt. Whether it's our chickens, our horses, or the people, we go get adjusted on a regular basis. And that's the big idea, and that's what Animal Chiropractic is about. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all later.
Make sure to visit our website, allcreatureseveryspine.com, where you can subscribe to the show and learn more about getting your animals adjusted. If you are in the Meridian, Texas area, drop in on a Tuesday afternoon to get your animals adjusted. If that isn't possible, schedule a consultation on your animal's health with Dr. O. You can also purchase a copy of Dr. O's book. Yes, it's really a thing.
Standard Process is a third-generation family-owned company in rural Wisconsin. You could say we just make nutritional supplements, but we know we're changing lives. We grow ingredients on our own certified organic farm without pesticides or herbicides because we think they should be as close to nature as possible. Quality is our priority. That's why we do everything right here, from hand-picking the seeds to delivery, so you know exactly what goes into every bottle.
Join us as Dr. O interviews a certified chiropractor, veterinarian, or an animal owner. These enthusiastic people explain how they utilize animal chiropractic to alter the lives of the animals in their communities.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter. And I'm here with Dr. Will Moorhead today. And we've got some exciting news.
So Dr. Will decided, he's got the big idea, and he's decided that, yep, the body heals from above down, inside out, no other way. And he's going to facilitate the nervous system. So FLEXX Animal Chiropractic is open to adjust animals. Am I right?
That's right. We're up and running. Already got a few down, and just looking for more.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your history.
So just going way back, I've always grown up with animals, had dogs and horses. My dad's a professional rodeo announcer. My mom barrel races. I grew up barrel racing. My brother's in the rodeo industry too, on the production side of things. So just kind of always been around animals, specifically horses, and always thought that I wanted to be a veterinarian, never thought of anything else. And more than that, I always thought that I wanted to specifically work on horses. It's just what I was most comfortable with, what I enjoyed, like being outside, the idea of being in a small animal clinic, kind of sitting down all day, or not even sitting down all day, just being inside all day was not something that ever really excited me. And so I did go into equine medicine, graduated from Mississippi State University, College of Veterinary Medicine in 2019. Went and did a 1-year equine internship with Brazos Valley Equine Hospitals in Toledo, Texas. Stayed on there for a year as an associate before moving up to where I am now, living in Collinsville, Texas. Worked at a clinic in Tioga for the past 4 months or so, and finally decided to make the move after coming to meet you guys last year, taking the ACES course and finishing up. Supposed to finish up the weekend of the big snowstorm. Had to leave a little early, and finally got everything done a couple months later. But just after a lot of thinking and a lot of talking and a lot of praying, moving away from just what is the traditional idea of veterinary medicine in general, specifically equine medicine, what I was in. It was something that didn't really fulfill me, didn't make me happy, and at times it was quite the opposite. A lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and not something that's a proud moment, I guess, but definitely something that is talked about a lot more today. It drove me to the point of depression at times, and I know that's kind of a taboo subject, especially with grown men. And so, just it being able to admit it, I think is a big part of it. And so if anybody happens to be watching this and you happen to be struggling as well, don't think that you're alone. Definitely seek out some help, whether it's just from, friends, family, or, professional. So, but anyway, that kind of got us to where we are now. Something that I had thought about. I told my wife it was something probably a couple months ago. I was out mowing the grass and I had just had a particularly bad week, and I was like, I really don't want to do this, but I really felt like I was trapped by the decisions that I had made leading up to it. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money to become a veterinarian. And the fact that was all I ever thought that I wanted to do, the fact that, on top of that, leaving something like veterinary medicine, I think also kind of has a little bit of a poor outside view. I think that a lot of people would probably look at me and say, oh, well, he just couldn't cut it. He couldn't handle the hours, couldn't, the work. And, maybe that's true to some extent, but I think that, making the decision to do something that I think is ultimately better for myself, my mental health, my future happiness, and my marriage is going to be something that I'm certainly not going to regret. And I'm very excited about this opportunity. The past 2 days specifically, I've just I've been doing a lot of sitting down, a lot of work on the computer, but it's the first time in a long time that I feel like I've been truly excited and not just kind of, okay, well, I'll do something and then move on to the next thing and maybe come back to it later. And so really excited about this new opportunity. Well,
and you mentioned some things that to me, I've been there, we've done it, so I have, practiced for 30 years now, over 30 years now. And at the beginning, it was 100% veterinary medicine. You know, everything was drugs, everything was surgery. And I was a pretty good surgeon. I didn't lose very many animals on the table over my 20 years of doing surgery. So, but it was something I enjoyed, but it wasn't, but it was stressful. Okay. And even, you know, and so I've talked to people that are like, oh man, you got to use drugs. You got to do this, you got to do that. And when you get the big idea that we're here to help animals heal, and sometimes, yes, they need drugs and surgery, but most of the time we just need to get out of their way.
Yeah.
You know? And help the nervous system. So tell us about some of your big wins as an animal chiropractor. I mean, like, tell us about some animals that you thought, man, this one's never going to get better.
Yeah. Well, probably one of the first big ones. I think it was really two cases. One of the first barrel races I ever went to with my old job, used to go and set up and be there as a veterinarian, and had some people come by and we're just kind of talking about some problems that they were having with their first runs there. And one horse was going in and ducking the first barrel, I think. And then the second one was kind of going in, working okay at the first barrel, getting to the second and running off up the fence. And just kind of talking to them what I had learned with you guys, you know, talking about things like the Atlas and heck, and hey, you know, bring them over here. Let me see what I can do. And again, this was just, you know, kind of one of the first times that I had really been able to see something and be like, I think that I can actually help that just by, you know, doing something with my hands. Adjusted both of them and then talked to them kind of throughout the weekend. I think one of them the next time went in there, ran great, didn't have any problem. The other one, I think, was a little bit hesitant, but definitely better the next time they ran, and improved even further that next time. And so, again, especially right at the beginning of doing something like this, you know, having the confidence to say, I learned from you guys, I know what can potentially be the cause of this, and be able to know what to do to fix it, but then also to get that immediate relief, the immediate gratification, which I know that we all look for, especially in equine medicine. That's the big thing, is that so many people want something right then. And unfortunately, you know, outside of masking a lot of problems, you don't get that a whole lot. And in these cases, it was cool to just be like, hey, I did this, and there was significant change pretty quickly. And so those are the two that pop into my head first and foremost, probably just because, again, it was right there at the beginning. It was just one of those, you know, good successes that, you know, you could really see results, and you could see results quickly.
So I want to bring up a case that I know that you adjusted, but it was a client of mine.
Yeah.
And my first thought when they were telling me about, so it was a dog client, and do a lot of work with this dog client, and she bought a horse, and her husband actually said to me one day to the side, oh, she shouldn't have bought a horse. She's a really good animal trainer, but horses aren't in her wheelhouse. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
I know where you're going with this.
So she calls me up one day, and we're scheduling the next dog appointment, and she's talking to me about the foal. And the foal was, it was born, and it kind of did all right, but one morning it couldn't get up, it wasn't sucking, it was dehydrated. And so a veterinarian from a clinic that you were at went out and looked at it. They ended up hauling it to the clinic for IV therapy, whatever. And it was doing okay, but not great, right?
Yeah.
And when I called you, you said, you know, I wanted to adjust that baby, but I wasn't sure the owner was up for it. Am I right?
Yeah.
And you want to tell the rest of the story? Go ahead.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool one, because I was kind of surprised. I think I was out on some farm calls, and I got a call from you, and I was like, what, did I not pay my bill on time? Am I in trouble for something? And you're like, no, there's a horse. It's actually at your clinic right now, and it belongs to this person. They just called me and asked if I could come adjust it. I told them I thought I knew somebody that was already there, and so got back to the clinic, went out and adjusted it. I think I did once or twice while it was there, and saw a little bit of improvement. Then it went home and kind of followed up with it a couple times. And then oddly enough, so this is just kind of a side story, the first time that I actually went to the client's place to adjust it, this was probably maybe 2-3 weeks after it went home, already definitely saw a good bit of improvement. I had just done a quick little exam on it and used my stethoscope, and then over the next like 2 weeks or so, I couldn't find my stethoscope anywhere. And I was in big trouble because this was one that my wife had given me. And so I was like, I have got to find this. And I looked everywhere, through my truck, through everybody else's trucks at the clinic, all the nooks and crannies, couldn't find anything. I'd given up on it. And then we go back out to adjust this horse again 2 weeks later, and walk over, and it's in the corner of this little pasture, and I'm going to adjust this horse's neck, and I look down and I said, how about that? It's right there. But yeah, that was definitely one that saw a lot of improvement in, and kind of the opposite of what we were talking about with the first ones, where you get that immediate gratification, that immediate success, where you can see what you're doing, and feel like you've done something right away. That was more of a case where, again, things that y'all had talked about, just knowing that sometimes it takes time. That first adjustment, you might not see a whole lot immediately. You might not even really feel like you've done much, which, again, coming from a veterinary background, that's one thing that I struggled with, is just, is it better now? Am I going to call this client and check on this horse in a couple days or a week, and they're going to be like, it's not any better, and back out again, or they're going to call me mad because I haven't fixed their problem? That case, it took some time. And we knew that it was going to take some time. It wasn't just a quick fix. But again, definitely saw some improvement, a little bit after that first adjustment, but then, again, 2-3 weeks later, another 2-3 weeks later. And then I think right at that point was kind of where I ended up moving away. So wasn't able to follow up anymore, but just from, again, beginning to the last time that I saw it, more than anything, mentation, because the first time that I saw it, it was just dull, depressed, not doing well, having a lot of trouble getting up, and just kind of weak in the hind end, and really, really drastically improved, again, from beginning to end there.
I know they're happy. The last time I was there doing dogs, I asked about it, and you had given her some things to check. And she said, no, I think everything's okay. And I reminded her how we needed to do some maintenance, and she was like, okay, well, maybe next time. But still, here again, it was it's a learning curve. She knows when to get the dogs adjusted, but and the horses, and for me, being mainly a small animal doctor, working on her horse isn't one of my most exciting things to do. I like well-mannered horses, but
don't we all?
Hers is a little more challenging. So anyway, so there's a couple cases where we had immediate, we had in the middle, but I'm sure you're seeing some. I mean this is you have to, something helped you get the big idea, and I'm going to call it the big idea. That's I've been reading some of the green books, like we talked about, some of BJ's books, and he talks about how when you get the big idea, and I didn't really understand that. The big idea is that we've been here for a lot of years, and we keep going no matter what we do, and the small ideas are like, this drug will take care of that problem, but how many different drugs do we have to have because the drugs quit working?
Yeah.
But the big idea still works. You know, the body still heals. And we just have to facilitate that. So talk about some of the cases. I mean, you've got to have something helped you make the decision, because I remember not so long ago sitting in a classroom talking about cases, and you mentioned, you know, I think I just injected. So we have, the big idea has changed for you.
Yeah, I think that it's, I mean, everybody wants to point to a specific point in time when they make, you know, whether it's, you know, the big decision that you're talking about, but probably any big decision in your life, you're like, this is the moment I knew that I loved to marry, or this is the moment that I knew what I wanted to do with my life. This is, you know, the moment that I decided that I needed to do something different with my life. And for me, I think this specific big decision was not so much one that I can point to a specific point in time. I think that probably it was, you could either say that the big decision was there, or you could call it a small decision that grew over time. But I think that it was initially planted probably that first weekend that I came for lab with you guys, and just getting my hands on dogs and realizing that it was something that I could do and something that I could see that I was making a difference. You know, being able to say, okay, I adjusted this dog's neck, I adjusted the back, we get it down off the bail, it shakes. I have made a difference, you know? And so again, at that point, it was like, okay, this will be a cool tool to have that I can use. And at that point, I think my plan was to stay in the job that I was in long term, and just to incorporate this as a part of that job. And then, you know, just some different things changed. And, you know, the more that I adjusted, and I definitely have adjusted more horses than dogs, just because, you know, I was in equine practice, both of the places that I've been. That's what I wanted to focus on. And so, you know, probably the more that I have done, the more that I've been able to see, and the more confident that I have gotten in my abilities to be able to do an adjustment. Because again, I come from a veterinary background. My idea of palpation was, you know, let me just press this as hard as I can and see what I can feel. And sometimes, you know, that'll kind of help out with something, but you know, that's a different idea than what we're trying to do with, you know, the motion, make sure that things are moving appropriately. And so that was probably one of the things that I was most scared about going into it, was, am I going to be able to know what I'm doing? Am I going to be able to feel this the way that somebody from a chiropractic background who already knows what things should feel like from a human perspective? Am I going to be able to take that information, and is my brain going to be able to process that? And I think that, you know, I definitely still do not have the same appreciation that somebody with a chiropractic background would have, as far as, you know, does this specific joint have motion in it? But I definitely feel a lot better about that now, you know, as I've gotten more experience, and I know that that will get better. But I also know that the way that you guys teach is, you know, just kind of go through and, you know, put a little bit of motion into it. If it moves, great. If it moves too much, you know, take it a little easy. But if it doesn't move, move it. And so just from a general standpoint of that, you know, being able to kind of improve in that aspect, I think kind of grew that decision for me. And then ultimately for me, it wasn't so much, you know, the actual practice of chiropractic, or, you know, the big idea, as you would say. I think for me, it was more so a lifestyle decision. Again, going back to just the struggles that I had personally, and the way that I felt like I had changed as a person. You know, obviously, as we get older, we learn things, we do change, but I didn't like the direction in which that change was going. And I wanted to do something where I felt like I could be more fulfilled, be happier, make more of a difference. And you know, I think that, again, that idea was already there. It was something that was growing, and it was something that I was scared to make the move because of the way that I had been trained, and the fact that I did have so much time and money in it. And it was just kind of a mental barrier to me of I can't cross this bridge, I can't cross this wall because I have all this time, all this money, and there's so much expectation. A lot of it that I put on myself, and a lot of it that I just assume is coming from the outside of, you're trained as a veterinarian, this is what you should do. And if you can't do that, then, it's kind of a poor outlook on you. But I think that at some point you just kind of have to look at it and be like, well, it really doesn't matter because I know that what I'm going to do is going to make a difference. And again, this is just something that I've gotten more and more excited about since, I really thought about it as a true opportunity. And then definitely since I was able to finally just say, I'm going to do it. The idea from that point has really gone from a big idea. I mean, it's pretty much exploded to me, where I feel the potential, and I feel my ability to reach that potential.
Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, and here were two guys, and I went to vet school. I was going to be a vet. I was going to be a cow doctor. All I was ever going to work on was cows. Yeah, that didn't work out. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, you do have, you're married, we're the breadwinner. You mentioned, expectations, yes, your wife has a job, and yes, my wife has a job, but we're men.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's, to me, I think the thing is not necessarily feeling like I need to completely provide or, that I need to make the most money. My wife works in small animal medicine, so I knew a long time ago I was never going to make as much money as her. Right. And so, that part of it, I think, doesn't, faze me as much as just wanting to be able to, yes, provide financially, but more than that, just be able to come home and not be miserable, not be able to leave everything that happened at work.
Right. Yeah. And I know that small animal medicine, you still bring some of that home, but it's a lot easier to not be on call if you're a small animal practitioner, because there's other people that will follow up for you. There's places, there's a lot of small animal emergency clinics around everywhere, even in some of these rural communities, we're out here in the middle of nowhere, Meridian, Texas, and we've got a really good emergency clinic 45 minutes away from us, for small animals, but not so much for horses. You are the one, and and then I was talking to a guy the other day that was saying, he makes about $700 or $800 an hour when he's on the farm, but he spends a lot of time. He says, I spend between 4 and 5 hours a day behind my windshield. Yeah. Making, and veterinarians will tell you, I charge for my mileage. No, you can't. If you're getting your expenses paid, like the tires and the oil changes and the gas and the depreciation on your vehicle, that's all mileage. Yeah. It's not paying for you to drive up and down the road. And that's huge, to work so if you want to work, an 8-hour day, but you spend 5 of it behind the wheel, you don't have a lot of production time. So, I found that when we go to places and there's all kinds of things you can do with chiropractic because it is prevention, we are helping prevent. And when we educate owners And it's a lot about having educated animal owners. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think that's another aspect of this that I'm really excited about, because I do enjoy teaching. Like, I mean, while I was in veterinary medicine, I think that was probably the thing that I enjoyed the most, was when I truly understood a disease process or a lameness or, just a specific problem. And I could talk to people, the people that actually cared to listen. Some people are just like, I don't care what it is, fix it. But the people that were really receptive, I enjoyed being able to go through it and be like, well, that's something that, they've never had a problem with it before. And they just kind of did this injury, and this is how it happened. This is what we can do to fix it. Or, it looks like this is a new thing, but it's actually something that was caused by, a problem that they've had since birth or since, they've been in the womb. And, being able to explain those things was something I enjoyed. And so that is a part of this that I think that I'm really going to enjoy, is being able to say, these are problems that in the past I would have said, yes, let's just, focus on the medicine or give some time off, stall rest, don't move it at all, as opposed to, maybe some movement would actually be better for this. And then just from a standpoint of understanding truly what chiropractic is, I think a lot of people don't really understand. I know that growing up, I had horses, I had dogs, just as a human, from a human chiropractic standpoint, never really understood what it was. To me, it was just, you have a bone that's out of place, and because of that, you can't move correctly. Okay. Maybe in certain instances that might be true, but I think that, especially after taking your class and looking at research and, understanding more so about, what's going on. The big thing that I took away from the course was that the bones, yes, are what we touch. It's what we adjust. It's what our focus is. But ultimately, that is just our middleman. Our main goal is to make sure that our neurologic system is functioning appropriately. Yeah. And the bones are just the scaffolding, the tunnel, whatever metaphor you want to use, that neurologic system runs through, being the spinal cord and your nerves. And so, maybe, yes, occasionally you'll have a joint out of place, maybe, or, it's more so that everything is where it should be. You could take an x-ray and everything would look fine, but you can do your motion palpation like we were talking earlier and, push on it and it feels like a brick wall. And so if that joint doesn't have that motion, then things aren't moving through there as they're supposed to, and then you're going to lose some of that neurologic function, whether it's just a specific nerve that's coming out, or if it's the entire spinal cord that's affected behind that bone. So, being able to explain to people, let me just adjust the atlas. If I don't do anything else, if I just do that, you can fix a whole lot of things. I did a horse yesterday and looked at it and, adjusted it, and the atlas was out, and the owner was immediately like, she looks so much more comfortable now. And I was like, well, she probably is. I was like, if I didn't do anything else, you would probably see some improvement just from that, because that's the first articulation from brain to the rest of the spinal cord. If there is some sort of tension, pressure on that right there, that's going to affect everything else. And so, being able to know those things, that's just kind of exciting. And you may be able to tell by now, I enjoy talking. Like I said, my dad's a rodeo announcer, and so what I got in trouble for in school the most growing up was talking too much. And looking forward to being able to talk too much some more.
All right. So, any last words that you want the people around Collinsville to know about their animals?
Well, like you said, we're up and running. We don't have a facility right now. We're just kind of, doing mobile practice anywhere in North Texas, whether it's Collinsville, Pilot Point, Whitesboro, around this area is kind of the closest to us, but definitely willing to travel further. If chiropractic is something that you fully understand and you say, hey, I would like somebody with a veterinary background who understands what's going on from an animal perspective, who is appropriately trained in chiropractic to work on my animals, I'm your guy. If you perhaps don't understand chiropractic at all, have never heard of it, you're listening to this thing right now saying, what is this garbage? I'm still your guy. Let me talk to you too much, okay? And if you happen to be in the middle, you might be saying, well, I go to the chiropractor fairly often and I feel good. I went to the chiropractor yesterday and walked out of there and texted my wife immediately and said, I feel amazing. It was one of those where it's like, immediate relief, because I do have a lower back problem. But if you're a person like that and you walk out of the chiropractor and you can tell me how much better you feel, think about how much better your dogs and cats, I guess. I've never done a cat, but I'm willing to give it a try. But certainly horses, whether it's just a backyard animal or, more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but, from a standpoint of getting very specific with things, you talk about the amount of money that you spend on performance horses, whether it's in pleasure, reining, barrel horses, roping horses. Keeping them sound with the amount of drugs that have to go into their joints, into their veins, into their muscles. Think about how much better they could potentially perform if their entire neurologic system is functioning the way that it's supposed to, and just keeping up with a regular chiropractic schedule, and think about how much you could potentially save on veterinary bills and, potentially, again, lengthen the amount of time that they can do that specific sport, instead of saying, okay, well, they've done it for 3-4 years now and we've had to inject them so many times and so they don't have any cartilage left in this joint, or they are so needle shy that you can't get a needle into them without having somebody holding on to both sides of the halter and into the eyes and holding on to an ear and twitches everywhere. And so again, if you're in that situation, still your guy.
All right. So, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And for all of you out there, remember, body heals one way only, above, down, inside out.
If you are or know a veterinarian or chiropractor, or a student of either of these professions, visit our website, Animal Chiropractic Education Source, to see how to become certified in animal chiropractic. Start improving the lives of the animals around you. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the ACES channels so that you never miss an exciting episode.